Hello and welcome back to Long Shot Ballerinas, a podcast for adults pursuing excellence in ballet. My name is Sasha, and on this week's episode, we're talking all about coming back to ballet. Whether you've had a week off or 10 years off, we'll be digging into our past to find motivation, practical actions we can take, and our why to help propel us into a positive and meaningful return to our beloved art form. So grab your beverage of choice, turn that volume up in the car, and let's get going. Let's start with a scenario, shall we? Scene: you, in your bed, deep conditioner in, lip sleeping mask on, sometime in the wee small hours of the morning. You've just ended your day with approximately 300 TikToks, 7 YouTube videos, and you've doom-scrolled Insta for literal hours absorbing all of the ballet-themed content you can get your grubby little hands on, including but not limited to day in the life of a ballerina, tips and tricks to nail your pirouettes, ballet core capsule wardrobe. Suddenly, it hits you. A deep, sparkling, glittery, magical thought. You leap out of bed. You fish out some old recital videos, that tattered pair of ballet slippers and a leotard you've stuffed in the back of your closet. You throw on your childhood CD of the Nutcracker. Waltz of the Flowers, naturally. You've got the outfit. You've got the music. You've got the inspiration. Your soul is ready, but... now what? If any of this sounds vaguely familiar, you might be somebody like me, somewhere along your journey of returning to ballet. I've had so many of these moments in my life, and somehow they all feel eerily similar. And if you are like me, they inevitably fizzle out in their excitement and eventually lead you to boredom, discouragement, or painful disappointment. That being said, by now you're probably tired of these cycles and looking for a way out of the perpetual struggle that is, and I am coining this phrase here on Long Shot Ballerinas, yo-yo balleting. So what do we do about this desire to get back in the ballet studio? First, you need to identify your why, your reasoning with why you want to connect with ballet again. Are you here to just reconnect with dance in general? Are you looking for friends and community? Do you want to dance professionally? Do you want to achieve a high level of technical ability in ballet? Your reasoning can be one or a combination of all of these things or something totally different, but identifying the reason is going to help you take the next steps. You got to write that down. So that's your first thing, is pick a reason why. If nothing comes to mind immediately, it's very possible that you just love the idea of ballet. And this is perfectly fine. You do not need any other deeper seated, soulful meaning. You do not need a grand aspiration that you've carried around for your entire life since you were 2 in order to enjoy ballet. For me, I'd say 50% of it is I like the way that I look when I dance ballet. I think it's beautiful. I love the way my legs look. It makes me feel, just joy. I really enjoy it. It's great exercise. It doesn't have to be any more than that. So if you're feeling like your reason is frivolous and shallow, that is okay. Frivolous and shallow does not have to be a negative thing in this, situation. And if you're looking for permission to just get started based on that and not something deeper within you that you're searching for that doesn't exist, I'm giving you the permission right now, okay? You have my permission to go after ballet because you think it's pretty. All right? You're welcome. Next step, you're going to need a plan. You got to have a plan to move forward with this. So your first step in your plan is going to be set some goals. You need to set goals so that you can keep moving on this pathway in the right direction. Those goals need to start large. So after you have your why, then we can kind of use that to set our long-term goals. Let's use mine, for example, because I know myself the best. So I want to dance professionally, which means I want someone to hand me money to perform ballets on a stage. Then from there, I go, okay, well, what do I need to do after that? So the next tier is going to be, I need to be able to audition. I need to work on my technique. I need to work on my performance quality. And I guess I need to identify some companies I want to apply for. So here we go. I've got my 4 kind of major goals. So let's take one of those. Let's say auditioning, okay? Most likely in this day and age, I'm going to need video. I'm going to need materials in order to submit to audition. But probably a lot of them, they have a pre-screening. So you send them and then they invite you later if they like you. So I'm going to need to learn some variations probably and make up some combinations for bar and center. I may need to videotape a piece of contemporary phrase work, whatever whatever the requirements are for the company or the program, I need to satisfy those so I can start working on those. From there, I will break those, so you see what I'm saying. I'm going to do an episode where I break down my actual goal tree. I have a whole document where I can show you that I kind of keep track and reevaluate. But yeah, so you start big, work small as you can, up to the point where you're like, I'm going to work on the relationship of my fingers relative to each other in my hands in ballet. It could be that tiny. So it might take you a few days. It could take you a week, could take you longer than that. So don't rush it. Just keep peeling the onion and get down to really basic, small goals for yourself. And with that being said, you need to be realistic. I think a lot of times, especially when we're really motivated at the start, we bite off more than we can chew. And it becomes exhausting and scary. And all of a sudden you feel so behind because you've given yourself something that's just not achievable for you at that moment. So you need to base all of those goals, even the small ones, around who you are right now and not who you wish you were like in 5 years. Keep that in mind. But if you give yourself too much up front, that's going to be really hard to stay motivated and keep going to make things habitual. So you really do see consistent work and consistent progress. You can always change things as you get going and in a rhythm of your practicing. But until, I don't know, I can't tell you how long you need to wait before you increase your load, but start less than you think you need to so that you don't get discouraged this time, okay? You also should plan for eventualities in life, days you just don't want to dance or you don't feel like exercising or your family needs you or your kids need you. Everybody has their personal life that you have to kind of contend with. And I do as well. I make ballet a really big priority and I'm lucky that I can, but I always make sure give myself grace and I give myself permission to, if I'm having a bad day, I take a day off and then I jump into it the next day and I pick up where I'm at. And sure, it's going to make my reaching my goals a little bit longer, but it's worth it because I'm staying sane. Okay. And then remember that huge goals will take huge amounts of time, even sometimes some small goals if they're really complex. So give yourself lots of time. Nothing in ballet happens quickly, but with the right focus, you can make progress. It's the consistency that is the most important. So start small and work your way up. Also make sure to include fun goals too, like maybe preparing for a performance with your studio if that's available to you. Or perhaps you want to make an Instagram reel that's artsy or collaborate with a photographer kind of choose some of those types of goals too that are creative goals, because that's going to give you like little points to hang on to that are not just like slogging through the exhaustion that is improving your technique. I also encourage you to include really amazing rewards for yourself. Like when I hit a major goal or like a medium-sized goal, I would say, something where I feel like I've been working on it for a while, like a month or two, then I buy myself a new piece of dancewear. Dancewear is expensive, but a $30, $40 leotard here and there every few months is not going to break the bank. And it gives me something to kind of look forward to. And then I also associate really amazing feelings with that item of dancewear. So every time you wear the leotard that you got, or every time you put the leg warmers on, you're going to go, oh yeah, this is symbolic of this hard work that I did and a reward to myself. And I'm going to keep going because I like feeling like that. So never underestimate the power of treats. And then remember that consistency does equal progress, even if it's little consistency. One of my Instagram reels is about doing your calf rises in the shower. And it's so easy because when you're stacking that onto a habit you already do every day, and this is a different episode entirely, but you're getting consistency without having to think too much. And then pretty soon you're going to go, oh, wow, my lower legs are so strong because I've done this tiny little thing over a long course of time. So whatever you're doing, every little bit counts. So don't get discouraged if you have to take that day off, because consistency is the most important. It's continuing your work over a long period of time to get past those pitfalls and roadblocks. Keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. Even if it doesn't look like your progress you made last week, whatever step forward is a step forward. And eventually I will do an episode on goal setting, and I'll walk you through my goal tree and how I broke that down into things that I could work towards, and also sharing with you the goals and milestones I have hit and achieved, which I kind of had forgotten about. I went back and did a review maybe, I guess about a month ago. Yeah, right after we did our auditions for Nutcracker and Sleeping Beauty. And I could cross off like 4 or 5 of them. I was so thrilled. I had kind of forgot that I put that out there as a pipe dream, and oh my God, I've already done it. So I'll walk you through that. It's kind of fun, and you can see how I split up my work. Okay, after you think you've hashed out your goals and you have hacked them to pieces and you've got a good bunch of stuff to work with, now you need to get your thoughts organized. And personally, I have a love-hate relationship with planners. I mentioned it before briefly, but I have some neurodivergencies. One of them is autism, and the other one is ADHD. So we are two brains in one body, constantly fighting each other about this planning thing. I love consistency, so much of it, but I get really overwhelmed easily with too much planning. So recently, I guess I got it in August. I've been using this planner called the Full Focus Planner, and I will link it in our show notes. I forgot I have show notes. So I'll put a link there. You can go check out their website. And it's a quarterly planner, so it's only got a few months at a time. And then you do a new one each time. And it's got some really neat prompts. There's a little bit of journaling and reflecting included. I went through, oh my gosh, a hyper-focused rabbit hole of planner reviews, both on Amazon and just the regular web. And this is one that it spoke to me, and I have been pretty consistent in using it. I think I've showed it a couple of times on Insta, but find something you like. And that might not be paper and pen. I prefer paper and pen for this type of work, but there's some good apps out there. Just do some digging around and test out a whole bunch. I've been testing planner and organizing systems since I was probably like 14. So it's been a solid almost 20 years of this, and it changes. It changes a lot. So find what works for you. Then I want you to fill out no more, no less than a month of your plans for your exercises, whatever that's going to be. This is a whole separate episode too, as far as what do you go about doing this, and we'll talk about a little bit more where you can get some of these ideas. But fill out a month of your plans and your goals. So select, whatever goals that you think you want to work on, maybe one larger one, medium-sized one, maybe a medium-sized one, and then put some smaller goals within the month. Maybe that's let's have some examples. How about one of your goals for weekly could be attend 2 open ballet classes, right? And then maybe 3 online classes. So that's dancing 5 times throughout the week. And that could be, as short as 30 minutes or a full 90-minute class or 2 hours, whatever it is. But that's a good goal, is like attending class consistently. That is going to make sure you're exercising a wide range of muscle groups, because ballet class is very comprehensive for the most part. And that's not too much. That's probably, if you don't make all 5 things you gave yourself, you maybe do 3, that's still 3 times a week. That's still way more than a lot of people exercise. So good job. You know what I mean? So have a little bit of flexibility there, but start with that and do that for 4 weeks. Any more than that is kind of too much, because you may need to readjust after that month. So you don't want to be giving yourself this, lofty plan like we talked about and then failing. So, but anything less, week by week, for me personally, is too much to upkeep. That means I have to every Sunday go through and go, oh, when am I doing my BWI exercises? Like, instead, I plan everything out for the month and then I reevaluate. And that seems pretty good for me so far. So you might be different. Take, my experience with a grain of salt and take or leave what you want. But this is I think a reasonable amount of time. You want to reevaluate these small and large goals as you go along, so month to month, and then just make this into a habit you enjoy. Maybe walk yourself to a coffee shop, buy a coffee, sit there, work on your planner for an hour, on a weekend. Find some time where it can kind of be a little meditative so that you have time to process, okay, how have I been doing? What should I change, etc. And then, as I mentioned in the last podcast, keep a small notebook for corrections and journaling for yourself that's kind of separate from all your plans. So that way you just, add a date when you need to, make notes, as you need to for that. So as you reflect on those corrections and journal entries for each class, because that's what I do every time I have a ballet class or rehearsal, immediately I just write probably like 2 or 3 sentences, not a ton. Sometimes I have more to say, but usually not that much. And just noting what went well, what could have been better, the corrections I got, corrections I think I need to work on, etc. And then as I'm, preparing my next month in my planner, I go back and I look at, okay, what was coming up multiple times? Like, did I get a point your feet correction more than a couple times this week? Okay, I still need to work on that. Or you can see what things you're improving on and give yourself a pat on the back. So definitely keep a log of your classwork. The next thing is your mindset is really important. Once I decided to kind of go all in on this goal of mine to dance professionally or go after that as my goal, I had to just kind of decide to do it, come hell or high water, and show up as often as I could. But I did have this flip in my head of the time is going to pass anyways. So you just need to, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. You need to be kind to yourself. My inner dialogue is getting better. Like I said before, I give myself room to mess up. Sometimes I need time to catch up on my housework, do the laundry, but I have it in my mind that I'm gonna keep working as hard as I can every day, whatever that day calls for. So if that day calls for not too much work, then that's what I do. The next thing is finding your dance family, having community in class, people that know what you're going through, support for you when you're not ready, maybe to share your aspirations, whatever they are, with close family or friends, whether that's because maybe they might discourage you, or you're just not, you don't feel like you want to be open about it. Tell those people in your classes. If the community doesn't exist for you, if it's hard in person, make it for yourself through Instagram. I guarantee you there are people that are interested and that will want to join in on your obsession. Make sure you're getting good instruction. And then whenever you're feeling down, just go back to your why. Consume content that uplifts you. Like we talked about in the last episode, comparison doesn't have to be the thief of joy. Comparison can just inspire you. So watch people and things that you relate to, and have great role models that you can use for examples of things you want to get better at. Whether that's someone who's a ultra professional dancer, whether that's somebody who's in our immediate community, someone that looks like you, someone who dances like you, someone who has a body type like you, whatever it is. Look for people on the internet who have done what you want to do, and then ask them, if you can, how they did it. I have spent so much time looking for people that are older that have succeeded in ballet, or maybe who have danced into their 50s and 60s. There are definitely people that exist, or who have non-traditional ballet careers where they didn't grow up in a conservatory and then get a professional contract at 17 and, retire at 34 type of a deal. So look for people on the internet who are like you, even if you have to scour for days and hours and years. I mean, that's what I've been doing, I think, since I got it in my head that I wanted to do this, which was about 2 years ago. Those people, let them inspire you to keep going. You can also try online platforms if you're having trouble getting enough instruction or adequate instruction. Like I've mentioned, I'm working with Isabella from Ballet with Isabella, but there's lots of different online platforms available. I can't speak to the validity or the efficacy of any of them because I have only used Ballet with Isabella reliably and for a long period of time. Eventually, one of my projects I want to do probably sometime next year is to actually try every available dance online platform I can find that has a ballet focus and then report to you about it. So that'll be a long project. Maybe that's my first YouTube video. I'm not sure, but I don't really want to do a YouTube channel. But yeah, so investigate those. Just kind of dig around and see where you can find the best instruction for you. And then celebrate your tiny wins. Keep your momentum going and building. That's probably the most important thing. Again, is just that consistency. You have to encourage yourself. You need encouragement from your own mind, from others around you, from your environment. Build an environment and a life that is supporting the goals that you want. This is good life advice in general. If you want to be a professional swimmer, you're probably not going to go play soccer every day. You're probably going to swim every day, right? So if you want to improve at ballet, you need to prioritize. It's hard sometimes, but you've got to keep the momentum going by keeping ballet top of mind, because discipline and motivation are very different. You're going to feel motivated sporadically, but if you have the discipline and the habit, if you start to build that, and don't get me wrong, it is the hardest thing for me to do considering the brain that I have. If you have a brain like mine, you understand, very difficult to just have habits. I don't have habits. I know what I want, and so I have to do X plus Y in order to get Z. So I've got to do it, and I want it desperately enough that I keep going. But if you're someone who does function on habits, this is great. Keep that top of mind, keep those habits going, and you'll see improvement, and then you will get that motivation in kind of a rolling basis as you see your goals progress. So well, I hope I didn't ramble too much on that section. But now to wrap up, I want to tackle some of the big, scary elephants that might be in the room with you right now, which are doubts. Doubts that we all have and will probably continue to have along this journey and just in life in general. And doubts that we can conquer with time and with effort and with the right mindset and tools. So the list is as follows. We might be scared. We may have low self-confidence mentally and physically, even if only in ballet. We may feel like outsiders. We might feel clueless. We may not know where to begin. We may feel like it's hopeless or that we're hopeless. People around us might be discouraging. And gosh darn it, it is expensive to go to ballet class. All right, so let's break down each one. Okay, I have some ideas on all of these, on how we can get over these doubts and fears. As far as being scared, and at the risk of sounding a little flippant, everyone is literally afraid of something all of the time. Okay, and the way we can get around this and start to kind of dispel this feeling of fear is share these fears with people you trust. Most likely your loved ones, they don't want you to be afraid. They don't want you to feel anxiety about something. And a lot of times voicing your fear helps to put a little hat on it and identify it, and then you go, oh, okay, this fear has a little silly hat on, and now it seems ridiculous that I was ever afraid of it. So share and say your fears out loud with people that you trust. The second one is it's a doozy. Having low self-confidence, both mentally and physically, even if you don't feel that in your regular life, but maybe ballet just triggers something in your brain that's like, oh God. So some things that you can do to address this is choose environments that make you feel good when you are starting back and are emotionally delicate. So you've made this big decision to start ballet again, and we kind of, spoke on this a little bit, but you need to have an environment that's supportive. So don't go to the really scary Russian teacher who's super old school and 80 years old and is going to yell at you and maybe say mean things to you. You're probably not ready for that yet. I think those classes actually can be really fun if you don't take them personally. But that's probably not the thing you want to do when you're feeling low self-confidence. So pick environments that are encouraging. This is a tip from the last podcast, but wear things that make you feel your best and wear them proudly and stand very tall. Confidence is all fake it till you make it. Until you're someone who I guess maybe has a really outsized ego. But most people are just acting the part. I would say you'd be surprised the insecurities that some people harbor, and you would never guess it from the way that they present themselves. So to touch briefly on low self-confidence in your physicality when you're coming back to ballet, and I have so many thoughts on this. We'll do an entire episode on body image and ballet, but not today. But I want you to consider a few things. If the way that your body looks or functions right now is what's stopping you from walking into a ballet class, I want you to set that feeling aside right now. I want you to take it off of you like a ratty old stinky t-shirt that you've been lugging around for however long, and put that in the laundry bin right now for a good well-deserved washing, because there will always be something you dislike about your body. Ask any professional ballerina, and as perfect as they look to you on the outside, they are still critiquing themselves, because it is the nature of ballet to look at yourself and be able to self-correct, number one, and two, to kind of like pursue this constant evolution of your skills and your technique and your artistry. So you are always going to dislike something about your body. Secondly, your body is perfectly fine enough right now in this moment that you are listening to this podcast to start your ballet journey. Okay? It's fine. It's not going to feel the same as when you had your body, whatever body you had 15 years ago when you were dancing full time, or even, not dancing full time, but whatever you looked like the last time you were in ballet is irrelevant, because one, it's in the past, and two, you can't improve unless you begin. Okay? You have to just start. You have to start and take consolation in the fact that the best people in the industry still feel like you. Everybody's in the same boat. So stop that right now. Go sign up for your ballet class for the week, whatever it is that you're doing. And know that with any consistent movement practice, you will see physical changes as you go along, for better or for worse, depending on what you're doing. So, if you had really amazing turnout before and now it's just awful, it's going to come back, but you have to put the work in. You're not going to get it tomorrow. You are not going to feel the same way when you walk into ballet as you did 15 years ago when you were, fully into the practice, when you had class, 5 hours a week or whatever it was. Just accept that and move on, okay? Because you have to get back in there in order to start progressing, okay? Just do the thing. Just do the thing already and stop worrying. Just go step into the class, fake it till you make it. That's where this comes in again. And just take the chance. Okay. I'm going to tell you this I love this Balanchine quote. I know George Balanchine is controversial when it comes to, body image in ballet, but he had some really amazing things to say. And one of them that I think really pertains to this is, quote, "Why are you stingy with yourselves? Why are you holding back? What are you saving for? For another time? There are no other times. There is only now, right now. Should I read it again? I'm going to read it again because it's so good. Why are you stingy with yourselves? Why are you holding back? What are you saving for? For another time? There are not other times. There is only now, right now. So take it from the man himself. All right? Don't waste another second feeling bad about something that you can't change in the next 5 minutes. Physically. You can only change your mindset and your outlook of this. So set aside those bad feelings, set aside that low confidence, and just go to the dance class, okay? You can do it. I believe in you. You can do this. As far as feeling like an outsider, my advice to you for this one is very similar to when you have low self-confidence mentally, is you have to just kind of fake it till you make it. You walk in there and act like you belong because you do belong. You paid the $20 like everybody else around you, and you're there to dance. So do a little homework, maybe make sure that the level you're taking is appropriate to, or maybe a little lower than you think you can accomplish so that you can ease yourself into it. And then make some friends in the class, make jokes, smile at someone, be respectful, be quiet, but take comfort in the people around you they're there for the same reason that you are. You're all there to, get a good workout, work on your technique, practice performing, get more strength, be more flexible. You all have similar goals if you're there in ballet class. So find confidence in the fact that you are not an outsider. You're an insider. You just walked inside the class. Therefore, you have made it. Now, being clueless, this is a big one because I definitely have, I think this comes from some of my afflictions is what I like to say. But some of this, I think, comes down to really good planning. Do your homework, know the teacher, call the studio, and get all of the information that you can about the class that you are thinking you want to attend. You want to arm yourself with knowledge because knowledge is power. Don't leave any stones unturned so that you're not unprepared for anything at the studio, like how much time it takes to get there, and that includes when it's trafficy and when it's not trafficy. Are you driving? Are you taking public transit? To what do their dressing rooms look like? Do they have dressing rooms? Should you change at work into your studio attire, or is there time and space for you to do so there comfortably? Is there a lounge area? Is it a hallway where you set your shoes? Do they have water bottle filling stations? Like, get your little detective hat out and your little magnifying glass and scour the internet. Another good way to find information, it's not always complete, but it's a resource I use a lot when I'm trying to find insider information, is go to Reddit of all places. And forums can have personal anecdotes from people who've been to the studios already. It's good to take these with kind of a grain of salt, kind of just read as much as you can, and that will help you aggregate and kind of draw your own conclusions about whether you still want to go to the class or not. Sometimes I read things that are critical or negative, and then I go and I'm like, oh, I can maybe see where that person thought that, but I don't think it applies to me. So, take it with a grain of salt, but use tools like Reddit and online forums. Ask questions to your Instagram following, or maybe somebody who's been to your city or been to your studio, and just keep gathering information. The more information you have, the less nervous you're going to be, and then you won't feel clueless anymore because now you have all of the clues because you have done successful sleuthing about your ballet class. And then as far as where to begin, wow, yeah, it's kind of a huge undertaking. It's like staring at a blank piece of paper and, you're trying to start your essay for some English class in school. So ask your online community again for ideas. A simple Google search for adult ballet classes near me is an excellent place to start. That at least will give you a list of what options are available to you. I do this when I don't really travel so much for my job anymore. Well, I do travel. I'm a flight attendant. My whole job is traveling, but I don't spend overnights very often anymore, almost never. So, but when I used to, if I had enough time, I would Google adult ballet classes near me and try to take classes that were different and experience new studios. So that will always give you a list of stuff, and then you can dig into their websites and see how much information, and it will become apparent to you which one looks like the best choice for your personal preferences. You might be feeling hopeless, or why should I even bother? And I think because we all deserve to pursue our dreams and to lead an extraordinary life, whatever that means to us individually. It's not too late, and the time will pass anyways. So if you start today, you're just getting a leg up on, future you from next week who wishes they started last week or this week, as it may be. So don't get too down this spiral of, why should I? I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, or I'm not enough of this or that. Just drop that attitude entirely. It's not serving you. It's just making you feel bad. If you want to do this thing, just go do it. It's that simple. Just do it. And if you have people in your life that are discouraging you, which is just I'm so sorry. First of all, you have my encouragement. But ignore them. I think I posted this on a story a while ago, but you have to pretty much just say like, F you, I'm going to do what I want. It's my life and I'm going to go out there and take it. Because that's exactly what you have to do. You are the only one that will have to live with any regrets that you have from your life. Again, tomorrow is not promised. What are you waiting for? There is no later. There is only now. Okay, paraphrasing that Balanchine quote again. So just ignore those people. And this doesn't mean you have to cut them out of your life. I don't like that type of like weird, really extreme cancel-y culture that's going around where like if somebody pushes back on you, sometimes people are doing that because they care about you. But ignore those people that are, being really hypercritical and just do what you want and show yourself and maybe eventually them that you're going to do this thing because it brings you joy and it's something you want to do. So again, don't regret things in your life. I think the worst thing in life is having to say, well, what if I did this? Avoid those at all costs. And the very last little thing that might be keeping you from dancing all you want is it's super freaking expensive. Or it can be so expensive. So here are my suggestions for you. Free YouTube classes. There's your first one. There's lots and lots and lots of really quality classes on YouTube. I started with like Catherine Morgan. She's really blown up in the last few years, but she has wonderful resources that both break down ballet steps for the very beginner and also for more advanced. And she teaches at a pretty high level. Obviously, she has amazing experience. She was a former soloist with the New York City Ballet and also with Miami Ballet for a short time. But now she has her own studio in California and she holds master classes and workshops all over the country these days. And she's wonderful. So she still has a ton of free content on her YouTube. So maybe start there and then see what the algorithm suggests you. You could also look for volunteer classes, maybe at your local like community center. Look for dance classes there. The other thing is just gosh darn good old budgeting. Sacrifice that bottle of wine a week. Buy press-on nails instead of getting your nails done. Find little places, and this is no shade to any of those people who you don't have to do that, but this is an example that I'm using. Find little places in your spending that you could pull from to put towards your ballet fund. If you really want to do this, you have to prioritize it. So if you're buying bottles of wine, those that can add up, or if you're buying, what else? Face masks or I don't know, things that are entirely optional to your life. If halving that, let's not say let's just keep using wine as an example because alcohol is expensive. But if wine is your thing, maybe you could just like cut that down by like 30%. Take that 30% of the money that you're saving per week and put that towards ballet. One bottle of wine might be $20. There's class right there. Do you know what I mean? So if you're serious about it, and again, this is nothing to say, there's nothing wrong with having wine, okay? But this is just the example I've chosen to use, which please don't come at me. But if you really want this, you've got to prioritize it. And that means maybe some sacrifices. And then for all of these, I think my best advice is you've got to practice feeling uncomfortable and not shying away from kind of living in these fears and doubts. You want to take the risks whenever you can because it's always scarier in your mind than in actuality. I think maybe it's just for me, and this is my personal opinion and experience, but I hype things up like negatively so bad. And then when I actually go do the thing, I'm like, oh, I'm actually like okay at that. Or, oh, that was actually like fun and challenging, not scary and terrifying. And you're never going to regret taking a step forward along your path to coming back to ballet. So don't be afraid. Now that I've given you all of the answers to your excuses that are preventing you from starting or continuing your ballet journey, I want you to do one last thing for me before we say goodbye. And that is remember that small child or young teen or even just the person you were literally yesterday. And choose this incredible journey for that version of you because they would be thrilled to know that future them is the brave, badass ballet babe that they always wanted to be. Choose that for your past self and get going and achieve your dreams, all right? I'm not crying, you're crying. Anyways, thank you for joining me this week. That is all I have for you today. Please check on the show notes for a link to the planner that I mentioned. And if you liked this podcast, if you're finding it to be helpful to you, I would just so appreciate if you would share it with your friends through Spotify. You can rate the podcast. Please leave a rating. Share that with your followers if you would. I would love it. Tag me. If you have comments or anything, you message me on Instagram or on the website. And thanks again for joining. And I will see you next Thursday. Bye.